Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. A little bit late, but there we are. I, Liz and I were invited to a production of Animal Farm in Birmingham last April, I think it was. It was such an enjoyable occasion. It was full of life, and it being the anniversary year, 70 years since the 80 years since the publication of Animal Farm. I thought it would be a great way to start the year by inviting the people behind this to explain how it all happened. Uh, can I introduce you to Ellie Jones and Rebecca Levy? Over to you, Ellie, to start with.
Thanks. Hello, I'm Ellie, and that's Rebecca. I am the book writer for Animal Farm, and Rebecca is our composer. I'm gonna just run through a little bit. I've got some slides and some songs to play you, and a little bit of a synopsis and sort of why it came about, the way that it came about. So I'm just going to introduce you to us first as the creative team via a little set of slides so that you know who we are. So here we go. Oh, no, I'm not. Apparently I'm not. Yeah, I am. There I am. Okay, that's me. And as I said, my name's Ellie Jones. I'm a freelance theatre director and writer. As a director, I've worked in regional theatres like the Sheffield Crucible and the New Wolsey Theatre in Ipswich. I've worked at the Royal Shakespeare Company in the West End, on Broadway, Australia, and on national tours. I also ran the first adult musical theatre course in Saudi Arabia back in 2022. I live in Margate, and down here I run a little grassroots performing arts organisation called Loop in the Loop, whose mission is to bring theatre to people who think they don't like theatre. We do that in lots of different ways: youth groups, social singing, street theatre, doorstep performances, supporting local creatives, and bringing national and international shows to unexpected local spaces. I started writing a little later in my career and have written some family shows, including a version of Alice in Wonderland that was performed in a caravan, and a number of musicals, Misinterpreted, which was an exploration of what it is to be female through the imagined rounds of a beauty pageant. Hot Wheels, a show about women's roller derby. It seems like there's a theme here. Dirty Stopouts, which was devised with the elders at Leeds Choir and interweaved the stories of their youth. Animal Farm is the most recent addition to the family. That's me. Coming up, this is Tom Ling, who is the lyricist. And Tom is an actor, writer, and producer. He's sorry he can't be with us today. He's busy doing other stuff. But he was the lyricist on The Little Big Things that ran at Soho Place in 2023 and was nominated for, I think, 4 What's on Stage awards, including Best New Musical. He also wrote the book and lyrics for Techies, the musical, which played up at Edinburgh Festival and was in Broadway World's pick of the programme. And he wrote the lyrics for a musical called The Cereal Cafe, which was a finalist in the 2021 Styles and Drew Award, or of the 2020, which was a finalist of the 2021 Styles and Drew Award. And during COVID, he wrote a book in a musical called The Terrific Treevilles, which you ought to have a look at if you get a chance. He was recently named one of the rising stars of 2024 in the stage, one of the 100 rising stars. I'm going to pass you over to Rebecca, who can talk about herself.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Levy. I'm the composer for Animal Farm. I'm an actor, a musical theatre performer, and musician. I started really songwriting, was my first step into composing, and about 5 years ago now I released an album of pop songs onto Spotify and iTunes, and it did quite well. I think at points I had 100,000 monthly listeners tuning in, and I've got around 6 million streams all in all, which is great. And the thing about it is that it's a chronology, it's a story. So I'd always wanted to write a musical. I started then performing the album as a kind of a through line, and started writing more songs to story. And then Ellie actually got in touch with me because she liked my music, and thought it would be a good style for Animal Farm. And it is my first musical composition. It's the first time I've composed for a musical, which has been really, really exciting. And I've had a lot of fun doing it. And it's been really interesting to work with, obviously, some of the original text from the book of Beasts of England. Yeah, I think that's me.
Thanks, Becca. Okay, so Animal Farm as a musical, why would you do that? Which I figure is quite a good question. We'd all read the novella as youngsters and been captivated by it. The story's themes of power and manipulation and inequality are timeless, I suppose. And the fairy tale-like structure felt like it could be a really exciting prospect with a folk-inspired score that sort of allowed for a blend of hope and tragedy, much like a traditional fable. The characters are also iconic in literature, and we thought that their inner struggles could be made deeper. No, could be brought out more, I suppose, through musical numbers that reflected that. Reflected not only those struggles, but their ambitions and their transformations. Music's also a great way, isn't it, to create tension, and the music evolves. Stop me if I'm saying anything that's not true, Becca. Music evolves in a parallel with the narrative, mirroring, I suppose, the increasingly oppressive atmosphere as the pigs take control. Lastly, for me, I think musicals are often seen as both entertainment and art, which makes them a great medium for reaching diverse audiences. And by combining Orwell's social commentary with a contemporary twist and contemporary music styles, we hope, I suppose, that this adaptation might engage a new generation of theatre goers who might be less familiar with the novella and will still be able to maintain the integrity and moral force of Orwell's original work. Yeah, so that's why Animal Farm as a musical. I think. Also, we love musicals. Oh, look, I forgot to do the thing. Folk inspired, character development through the song, creating tension, engaging modern audiences. I'm not the best PowerPoint. Mostly I'm in a rehearsal room with a bunch of actors. I apologize. Okay. So the concept. Okay. How would we do it? I always want my theatre to be making some kind of comment on the modern world. And while the story as it stands can clearly teach us about society now and the cycle of power and corruption, I felt that leaving the show as a piece about communism allowed an audience to distance themselves from the message. You know, you're able to say that wouldn't happen here. It's not about us. So I was interested to see if we could move it to represent capitalism instead. And we as a team thought that might be possible. Basically, that's what we've tried to do. So in our world, Manor Farm is the UK today. It seemed to me that there were very clear resonances with our modern world. The pigs' manipulation of the other animals, the distortion of truth, and the erosion of equality resonate with our contemporary issues of authoritarianism, misinformation, and social inequality. Also, the manipulation of media and information, the rise of populist leaders, the erosion of democratic principles are rife in today's society. So it really didn't feel like it was too much of a stretch. When I started to look at the book, I became interested in the idea of globalization and how connected the world is now, and whether or not there was a way to show that between the three farms, so between Frederick's farm, Pilkington's farm, and Jones's farm, so that how easily the failing or disruption of one economy can affect the rest of the world. So if the three farms reflect the world, I was looking at Frederick's farm holding the power, a bit like Russia. So they hold the energy as things currently stand. Jones having a lake that they rely on him for irrigation, and for Pilkington having excess grain supplies. When the animals break away, they no longer have the energy supply from Frederick's farm, and so they are looking at the windmill as a way to become self-sufficient, eco-friendly, and independent of the other farms. So one of the other dominant issues of modern times felt to me was immigration. Increasingly so in democratic countries, it feels like it's the driver for change. So we have some immigrant animals that want to come to Manor Farm with the hope of a better life. They've heard life's better there, and for a while it is. And then more and more of them start to arrive at a time when droughts are happening and food and shelter are scarcer. And that allows us to rise the tensions and to blame the immigrants, I suppose, for the problems in our society. Again, reflecting our modern day worries and issues, challenges. The other thing that felt really connected to the story and connected to modern day politics is populism. There are lots of different types of leader, but more and more these days, populism seems to be the way forward. So I was interested in looking at leaders that were popular, your Johnsons and your Trumps of this world, looking at leaders that were symbols of strength, or leaders that have potentially good ideas but can't articulate them well, maybe your Jeremy Corbyns, depending on where you sit on that side of the fence. I was also really interested in the spin doctors in the shape of Squealer and Dominic Cummings, and the idea that all of those people carry their messages these days in sound bites, and that seemed to speak directly to the way that the pigs behave in the novella. Shout at me if I'm missing anything, Becca. Okay, you will. Good. Okay, so then alongside the forward story of the animals, moving that to modern times and making it capitalism, we have developed Jones the Farmer's story. So running a lot of the animals story goes forwards and runs into an inevitable descent into a deeply divided society. And we have Jones the Farmer's story playing in reverse. So we first meet him as the despicable drunk dictator that we all know from the novella. And then in flashbacks through our version of this, we follow his journey backwards through financial ruin and the death of his wife, all the way back to the naive city boy excited to show his fiancée the farm he just spent all their savings on. I hope in this way we, the audience, are given the opportunity to sympathise with Jones as he tries to navigate running an organic farm with the best of intentions. He adopts Molly, the retired racehorse, for Anna, his wife. And then when everything seems to be going well, Anna gets ill. The farm is beset with a bout of foot and mouth. The bills are rising. Frederick and Pilkington are berating him for their losses, as I've made those farms inextricably linked through their irrigation and power systems. And so he drinks himself into oblivion, neglecting the farm and its animals. Yeah. Okay. Oh, so the other character development alongside Jones that we've done, we were looking to flesh out the characters so they're more than just ciphers for a type of person or a well, as they are in the novella, specific people within that world. So that the audience could have more emotional investment in them than them just being a kind of caricature of something. So Snowball and Napoleon become brother and sister. I was keen to inject some female energy into the power dynamics. There are more women in politics these days. And I was also really keen that the good pig wasn't going to be the female character. So our Napoleon is female. Women are so often being portrayed as good and kind and the people that want to do best for the world. I thought it was a great thing to change that around and maybe make Napoleon the villain. The also great thing about making Snowball and Napoleon brother and sister is that there's already some sibling rivalry before they even get interested in work, before the power is even in their world. That makes old Major their father in our version of this. This gives them an investment in making their dad proud. It allows them to be galvanized to continue his work after his death, and they use his memory as a way to play off against each other and to win over the crowd. Yeah. The other changes, well, the other big change, I suppose, is Boxer and Clover. So Boxer and Clover are now a couple, and we discover during the show that Clover is pregnant. This was a we thought this would be a really helpful thing. Looking at them as the kind of standard working people, they are easily fooled. They go along with the status quo, even as that changes. And that meant that they could be manipulated. If they want more for themselves and their new family, they might be prepared to do more things they might not do if they were single. It also means at the end of the play, Boxer never gets to meet his daughter, but she's not born by the time he dies. And that leaves Clover with a huge decision to make, because the world that then exists will be the world that she's leaving to her daughter. So will she try and change it? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to run you through the synopsis of the play just so that you get a sense of how that works. How am I doing for time? I've got 20, we're 20 minutes in. Okay, well, it's not too bad. And I'm going to play you some songs while we do this synopsis as well that maybe Becca will talk about a little bit. So we start the show at the exact point of rebellion. We start with a kind of take back control. Well, in fact, we start with exactly those words, take back control, and then the animals go into a revolution. And we get a song called Bite the Hand, which is a rock folk number full of anger and fear. The animals are galvanized by Jones's accidental shooting of Old Major. They start a riot, they ransack the farm, and they hoof him out in the process. Want to say anything about that, Becca?
Nope, I think that's covered. It was just interesting for me to, we'll talk about this when it gets to Beasts of England, but to get the full distortion kind of out of folk in this moment, because they're coming completely away from everything that they've known in order to have the revolution. So lots of electric guitars and crazy drum fills. Yeah, sort of punk folk, if you will.
Punk folk, nice. Then in our first flashback of the show, we flash back to Old Major's dream. We flash back to the barn and the night Old Major tells the animals of his dream. We steal the line from the American Declaration of Independence, and he starts with, "I hold these truths to be self-evident, that all animals are created equal." We also meet Jones again here, drunk and aggressive and seeming like the simple villain of the piece at this moment in time. Within that scene, why will that not? We get the song Beasts of England. Shall I play it first, Becca? And do you want to talk about it afterwards? Okay, I'm going to play that for you now.
Get rid of man. We must work night and day, body and soul, for the overthrow of the human race. Bright will shine the fields of England.
Your sound.
I can't hear any of this. I'm not sure if it's working for us.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's gone
It's
off.
not. And we can't hear you either.
Oh, did it go off? But is that because
Yeah.
I muted? That's my fault. I apologise. Let me just go back. I muted so that I wouldn't be noisy, but clearly that just meant that this did not play. Here we go. Oh, should we start again from the start? I'll just start again from the top. Stop it. Here we go. I'll try that again. Oh, maybe I will. There we go.
Man, we must work night and day, body and soul, for the overthrow of the human race. Bright will shine the fields of England. Purer shall its waters be. Sweeter yet shall blow its breezes on the day it sets us free. For that day we all shall labor, though we die before it break. Come, oh come, ye beasts of England, all must toil for all our sake. Never listen when they tell you that man and the animals have a common interest, that the prosperity of the one is the prosperity of the other. It is all lies. Man serves the interest of no creature except himself.
Rain shall vanish from our noses, and the harness from our back. Bit and spur shall rust for time. Through its no more shall fly. For the time we know it's coming, though we might see miles away. Freedom, cruelty, beast of England, raise your voice, today's the day. It's water, sweeter yet shall blow its breezes on the day that sets us. Peace of land and sea and sky, sea of golden future rise. Peace of land and sea and sky, see the dream before your eyes. Peace of land and sea and sky, see the golden future rise. Peace of land and sea and sky, see the dream before you. For the time we know it's coming, though we got before it's world. Oh, ye peace of England, all as one, ye peace of England. It's begun, oh, peace of England, oh, my joy of all. Freedom calls ye, beasts of England, raise your voice today.
There we go. Got
Yeah, great. So I'm not sure if other people had the same experience. The guitar wasn't really coming through, but we had a lot of the lyrics. But if that's the case, it's all on acoustic guitar, this song, and all the instrumentation is stuff that you would find on a farm. Not if you're an animal, obviously. They don't play instruments. But you know, cajons, guitars, or it could be played on crates or boxes. I think the thing for me with this, the build is really important into galvanizing everyone into that revolution. So major at the beginning, it's all very dreamy and slow, and you've got this kind of 12-string acoustic guitar, shimmery sounds as he's explaining his dream. And then as we get into it, I think another thing we missed was the Jones line, that he's finally got them all in unison. And he says, shut it, is it shut it, you mongrels, Ellie?
yeah. It is,
So shut it, you mongrels, which brings them all back down into the beasts of the land and sea, where they're building and building. And we end up in 8-part harmony as we get into that final bit. And the refrain, for the time we know is coming, all of that bit comes back in, I want to say all but maybe 3 of the animal songs throughout the show in different ways. Sometimes it's just a melody played in on a clarinet when another thing is happening, but we hear that a lot because it's the thing that Snowball and Napoleon are then using afterwards in order to keep everyone on side and say, remember the revolution, remember why we did this. But as we get through, the animals start to take that and bring it into their own hands, and how do we take this back from you? And it gets a bit corrupted and musically disrupted. Yeah.
Thanks, Becca.
Get rid of man.
No. There we go. That's better. I'm going to carry on. Okay, so the show carries on from there. We go to the first Sunday meeting of the animals. So we're back in the real time going forward. This is self-explanatory and follows generally the same form as the book, which I'm sure you all know. They check about who's in charge, what should we grow in the fields, and we see the beginnings of some tension between Snowball and Napoleon. Then we go to the farmhouse. Some of the animals visit the farmhouse, Molly amongst them. While they're there, they encounter a white porcelain drinking trough and the cat. The cat is less optimistic than the other animals about their new world and sings a song called Best Laid Plans. I've suggested this is a cabaret style song of some foreboding, which asks questions about what will happen if the animals start to fall out whilst they're doing a kick line with a team of white mice. Would that be fair, Becca?
Completely.
We flash back again here, and we have a little moment of life on the farm as it was before the revolution, and we see Benjamin being beaten by Jones, and he and Major having the beginnings of an idea about being their own masters. Benjamin is skeptical, of course, but Major says it only takes a flicker of light to fan a flame. In the next scene, we're back in the future going forward, and we meet up again with Snowball, Napoleon, and some of the animals as some other animals arrive from Pilkington's farm. They've heard about the farm from the propaganda pigeons, and they've leapt to the fence and made the treacherous journey through no man's land to find a better life at Animal Farm. They're welcomed with open arms so long as they are happy to follow the rules. And we have changed the rules a little. The first rule is the same. First commandment is the same. Whatever goes on 2 legs is an enemy. Whatever goes on 4 legs or has wings is a friend. The second commandment, no animal shall drink alcohol, is still there, but it's there because drinking alcohol interferes with memory and learning, and any animal that drinks alcohol cannot be productive in our society. Our third commandment is all animals deserve the right to a better life. Our fourth commandment is no animal shall kill another animal. And our fifth commandment is all animals are equal. While our animals are talking to the immigrant animals, the humans come back again, and we have the Battle of the Cowshed. Now we tell our Battle of the Cowshed attack in a pigeon-led gospel number, as if they are recounting the tale to the other animals on a neighboring farm. Fair, Becca? Want to say anything else about that?
Yep, no, completely. It's just a lovely, ridiculous musical theatre moment where we get the storytelling through the propaganda of the pigeons. Yeah.
Great. We cut back to the farm, and the animals are learning to read and write with greater or lesser success. We flash back again to Jones and Frederick and Pilkington visiting Jones because he hasn't been keeping up the repairs on his farm, and the irrigation system that also feeds their farm is silted up. Jones promises to try harder, but as he's wiping his face, he finds a postcard from his wife, and he sings a song called Words on a Postcard. And this is a desperate song, I would say, from Jones begging for his wife to return. She used to leave him postcards around the farm to make him smile, and he's found one of those postcards that he hasn't seen for a while, and he misses his wife terribly. We cut back to going forwards in time, and Snowball and Napoleon are busy fighting over Snowball's idea to build a windmill. So this song is a rap battle style song, intercut with flashbacks of the young pigs with old Major as they grew up, which culminates in Snowball commandeering Major's words to win over the animals to his point of view. That at the end of that song, when Snowball does win and all the animals vote for the windmill, Napoleon gently asks Snowball if he can have a word with him after the vote, and that's the very last time we see Snowball. Jump in if you like, Becca. Okay, then we flash back again, and we're back to the Jones story, where at this point in time, the paramedics have come to take Mrs. Jones away as we discover that she has fallen ill. And that is the reason she is no longer at the farm, rather than having left Mr. Jones. Hopefully that's a surprise to some people. We go back to the normal, to our forward running story, and we're back on the farm, and dinner time is announced in true MasterChef style with a julienne of carrots and a beetroot reduction. It turns out the crop yield has been a bit smaller this week, and Clover has fewer rations than the others. When she asks about this, Squealer informs her it's because her job is less important. She mucks out the stables. She doesn't grow anything, and society needs growth. Along the way, up until this point, Molly has been feeling more and more uncomfortable about the situation on the farm. She suggested that they grow sugarcane, but was rejected. And as a thoroughbred racehorse, she's not cut out for manual labour. And actually, she rather liked Jones, and especially Mrs. Jones, who was more like her best friend. She sings a song at this point when she goes back to the farmhouse to visit. She sings a song called Something to Miss. I'm going to say a little bit about this first. Something to Miss is Molly's song before she leaves the farm. Becca joined us a little bit later so quite a lot of the show was already written. And before Becca really had a chance to look at the script, she wrote this song for Molly. And we hadn't put in a song for Molly. And it didn't quite fit with what we needed, but we loved the song so much that Molly became a more integral part of our flashback Jones story. I'll give this a play for you, and then maybe Becca will talk about it after.
Els,
Yeah.
can I recommend that you change your audio settings briefly, because we won't be able to hear the piano. So if you go to next to me, let's go to audio settings, and then live performance audio under audio profile.
I don't have that.
You don't have that option. Background noise suppression, maybe.
Don't have that. Virtual background, blur my background. No.
Audio.
I'm trying. Hold on. Here we go. Maybe this will do it. Audio settings. What do you want me to change it to?
Ideally, live performance audio, or change the background noise. If you don't have that option, change the background noise suppression to low rather than auto or high.
Stereo audio, fidelity music mode.
In an audio profile, so it's the second, it's go speaker, microphone, audio profile.
Yeah.
And then under audio profile, it should be Zoom background noise removal. You turn that off.
Okay, off.
Yeah.
It was off.
So
we'll click it or not. Don't click it. So I try it with it on.
I think the on is the problem. I think it's suppressing the piano, so the instruments, which is why we can't hear it. Because it's sort of prioritizing the vocals. Maybe there's one that says live performance audio. I don't know if you have that.
Yeah, I've got that. Should we try that?
Or yes.
Done that? Should we try
that? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, give it a go. Thank you for bearing with.
Better?
Yes.
Bright sun, warm days, dust off the saddle, take the reins, 'cause I've waited all my day to play with you. It's work, they say, but I see love where they see chains, and I hate takes a moment to let me go, and I know she's holding on. She's not okay. I stand here now in the house you stood before, and this reflection shows me how I never wanted this down. But this isn't home without you. It's only beams and bricks. I know that we were different, but when we were flying through the sticks, I didn't see 2 legs or 4. I saw 6.
I'm really aware of time, so do you want to say anything quickly, Becca?
Yeah, just that in that that's one of the first times where we have a flashback within a song. So obviously the time we go and visit Mrs. Jones is in our past storyline. So, and then it comes back to Molly, who is remembering her and aware of her, and I think her decision to leave the farm comes down to that. But yeah, it's one of my favorites in the show.
Brilliant. I am aware that I might be running over time. Am I all right, Quentin?
Yeah, you are for a minute or two, yeah.
Okay, so we then Napoleon recruits Boxer to be the project manager for the building of the windmill. Boxer is less than sure with what that entails, but since he's going to be rewarded with Molly's old stable, which is twice the size of his and Clover's, and has running water, he is up for it. Clover wonders what Snowball thinks and wants to go and ask him, but Napoleon sidesteps her questions. We introduce a new character in this scene, Edward, who is a woodpecker with an encyclopedic knowledge of all things tree. Boxer has cut down the conifers at the bottom of the orchard, but it seems they are Scots pine, which is a softwood, and the windmill should be built using a hardwood. This means that they are going to need a 2-part polyurethane to treat it, but that's not cheap, and you have to get it from the humans. So Napoleon goes to enlist Clover's help, citing Boxer's failure in cutting down the wrong trees and asking her to persuade the cows to sell their milk. Clover goes to see the cows, and they are who are busy churning it for all sorts of concoctions. The smell of the milk makes Clover queasy, and at this point she realises she's pregnant. Benjamin then arrives with news that the hens have staged a sit-in. And we get a song called Breaking News, which is the story of the Hens Rebellion played out by Barbara and Barry, the 2 news anchor sheep. They recount the story and go live to Bob in the yard, who conducts interviews with the hens and Boxer as their sit-in is stopping work happening on the windmill. We were trying to get the idea of the stop of the oil protests within this, so that everyday people couldn't go about their work, and how frustrating that was for them, and so how they might turn on the hens. Clover at this point tries to tell Boxer she's pregnant, but he's busy and cross, and they end up having a big row. The animals all start to blame Napoleon, and they want to speak to Snowball, so eventually Napoleon comes clean and confesses that Snowball tried to kill her in the middle of the night, and failing to do so ran away. And then we have the interval. Back after the interval, the pigeons give us a quick catch up on where we are now. The hens are cooped up inside the battery for protesting. Milk and wool is being sold to the humans to pay for extra things like for the windmill. And Napoleon is amazing because she saved the day against Snowball. Boxer and Clover try to make up, but they're on such different pages about the hens situation and the fact that Napoleon is looking to build a boat for the lake to house the immigrant animals on, that they end up falling out more, and Clover still doesn't tell him about the pregnancy. We flash back to Jones and Mrs. Jones, and this song is a song that goes backwards, continues to go backwards each time. So we go further and further back in time, and it uses the postcards that we now see Mrs. Jones write in order to try and keep Jones's spirits up as they encounter animals dying from disease, interest rates going up, a miscarriage, and the day they discovered they were pregnant. Things really start to go wrong now on the farm, and the crops are all dead, the milk's been spilt, the irrigation system is clogged, Boxer ate Clover's carrot, jobs are scarce, and the immigrants have all got sick, and one of them's dead. So Napoleon takes this opportunity to blame Snowball for all the wrongs. This number starts out with Squealer planting the seed in Napoleon's ear, Napoleon using it with Boxer, Boxer talking to the others, until the eventual spread of all things going wrong are answered in a chorus of "It's Snowball." At this point, the commandment, "All animals deserve the right to a better life," becomes "All animals from Animal Farm deserve the right to a better life." We segue straight into the last Sunday meeting, in which Squealer announces that all decisions will now be taken by Napoleon and her team of special advisors. And a new song, "Friend of the Fatherless," has been penned in Napoleon's honour. We flash back again to Jones's story and him surprising his wife with Molly's arrival on the farm. So things are getting better backwards for Jones and worse going forwards for the animals. Cutting straight back, speaking of worse, to the animals, is the collapse of the windmill and Boxer trapped underneath. He is rescued, and during that rescue, Clover admits that she is pregnant, and we get a song called "Delicate Dream." Yeah, I'll just give that a play. This is the last song I'll play.
I've been dying to say, trying to tell you, but you felt so far away. There's a distance between us, and it only seems to grow. But the joy in your eyes sparks a song in my heart, a lost lullaby. Could this be our new start? Close the distance between us. I'm glad you finally know it's ours. Boxer, it's ours.
Clover, that changes everything. We need a bigger house. New things. What do babies need?
Very little. They mostly need us to love them. There'll be dreams, aspirations, there'll be fights, there'll be tears. Some defied expectations and difficult years. We'll share them all between us. Step back and watch her grow. It's ours. Boxer, it's ours. I carry in me a delicate dream, a heart beating gentle and true, a beautiful guide to a future unseen, the miracle of me and you. And I know you'll carry her too, safe in your arms. There's nothing we wouldn't do to keep her from harm. It's ours. Boxer, our delicate dream.
If the world we built isn't perfect, it's because it isn't complete. And God knows my family deserve it. So I'll be the hero she needs. Work until I can't lift and rebuild this whole farm. Yes, this is my gift to keep my food from harm. There's only one way, only ever been one. Grind every day till the job is done.
I carry in me a delicate dream, a heart beating gentle and true, a beautiful guide to a future unseen, the miracle of me and you. And I know you'll carry her too, safe in your arms. There's nothing you wouldn't do to keep her from harm. It's ours. Boxer, it's ours.
Oh no, stop that. During this song, Boxer is galvanized into action and uses the last of his strength to rebuild the windmill. He collapses again and is taken away by the equine end of life services. We flash back to Jones, to the Jones story, when Mr. Jones receives the letter telling him his sperm count is too low to conceive naturally and they will need to try IVF harvesting. Harvesting Mrs. Jones's eggs to stand any chance of falling pregnant. And then we flash forward to Squealer doing egg collection on the farm where the hens are still imprisoned. There's not enough food to feed the immigrants, but that doesn't matter as most of them are dead now. And Mr. Pilkington's just arrived for a meeting with Napoleon. Benjamin hears all this and then bumps into Clover, who is making the stable nice for Boxer's return. He wants to tell her what he knows about the people who took Boxer away, but he doesn't want to hurt her. So he sings a song called The Price of Silence. This is a new, as yet unwritten song that will look at the idea of bystanders in times of crisis. At the end of it, Benjamin goes to see Napoleon. Oh, there it is. Once he's there, he discovers Napoleon being tricked into selling off the energy from the windmill to Mr. Pilkington, while Mr. Pilkington rents it back to her at a higher price. Benjamin finally breaks his silence, calling all the animals out, urging them not to stand by and do nothing like he has, telling them that Boxer is dead, not recovering somewhere. Benjamin says that they've become what they hated, that they must tear the windmill down and start everything again. A new system, a new way, leave the old ideas behind and start over. Napoleon finally loses it and sets the dogs on Benjamin, murdering him in cold blood in front of the crowd. Clover is left alone with no one to turn to and her unborn child to consider. She has to decide. Is Benjamin right? Should she burn down the windmill, even though that is her love's legacy? What's the answer? This last song brings Clover, Napoleon, and Mr. and Mrs. Jones together, each believing they are about to do the right thing for the future. That's the end of our show. This show was commissioned originally by BYMT, and they're the pictures that you see there are from the BYMT show, which felt like such a good fit for a show like this, with its commitment to telling stories that matter in the world today. It allows you to have a large cast of characters and the chance to collaborate with a group of extraordinarily talented young people who have the opportunity to shape the future for the future of our world. So it was a brilliant thing to be able to do with BYMT. The songs you hear are from a research and development week that we did at Lambda, and they were their Lambda MT students that were what you hear on those recordings. The BYMT show was at Birmingham Rep, and during that time scenes shifted, songs were rewritten, songs were written. So they've been a major part in making the show what it is. We then did a version of it which was rewritten again for the London School of Musical Theatre, run by some Americans who'd heard about the show and loved the book. So they asked us to try it with the students that they bring over for a summer school of MT masterclasses, and it was performed sort of workshop style at the Bridewell in the summer last year. From that, it seems possible that we might end up going to Florida, and there might be a production of it at Florida University later this year. Next stop, Conquer the World? Who knows? Maybe a West End run, Broadway, a musical film, or an animation in Tim Burton style. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, thank you very much indeed. If you could just explain, before we open it up to questions, British Youth Music Theatre and how you, if you like, acquired the children and over a very short period of time drew all this out of them.
Yeah, MT.
When we arrived at the theatre, they were just coming back in, and it was hold on, I'm being asked to start my video again. It was very clear what great camaraderie you developed with them and among them.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. It's a 2-week process, and we start generally with a structure and a number of scenes and songs, but quite a lot of that gets moved around in those 2 weeks, and we have to rehearse all the songs. They have to learn. They're not cast when they arrive, so nobody knows what parts they're playing. They've generally not seen a script. They've generally not heard the songs, so all of that happens in 2 weeks, well, 1.5 weeks, I suppose, because the show is on at the end of the second week. So we'll come the Wednesday, Thursday of that second week, you're going into a technical rehearsal, and then dress rehearsals and performances. They work from 9 in the morning until 9 in the evening, as do we. working through the show, doing choreography. You know, it's a musical, and it was a big musical, and there were, I think we had maybe 30 something children, 35 maybe children, young people, with us, in a range of ages from about 11 to about 19. So it's a huge, extraordinary experience to be with them, and they are delightful, and their enthusiasm and commitment and dedication to the cause is a joy to spend time with.
Lovely. That is, I hope, create the context for everybody. Who would like to ask the first question? Douglas, can you unmute?
Hi, hello. Thank you very much, both of you. That was terrific. It was really interesting, and I have to say I loved the songs. They were great. However, as you were talking about all the elaborations and the changes you made and the new things you brought in, it reminded me of how very, very simple Orwell's Animal Farm is. It's got a straight timeline. The characters they don't need to have very much depth. They don't need to have backstory. And it just made me think that much of the creativity that you're putting into it seemed to be in conflict, perhaps, with that simplicity that helps the satire along in Orwell's telling of the story. So I wonder if you could say something about that, and if you might have been aware of that as a sort of tension in your production.
Yeah, it was a deliberate choice, actually, because while I love the book, I don't feel emotionally connected. I don't care about the characters, and I think in the theatre you want to be able to care about the characters in a way that isn't quite so simple and two-dimensional. And I think you're absolutely right. It is a much simpler fairy tale set of values that they have on them. But I wanted to make it feel like it could be me in that situation. If I'm looking at a modern society and what I might do, who am I? And if I want to feel what that character is feeling, they need a little more backstory and emotional connection, I believe, in order for me to think, what would I do in that situation, rather than this is just something that I can disengage from.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Les.
Hello. Can I ask Rebecca a question, please? When you were introducing yourself and describing your musical background, you seem to use a technical term, through-line music. Can you explain what through-line music is? Is it what we older things would think of as perhaps a concept album or something else? Absolutely,
yes. A concept album, a song cycle is another way of putting it. I guess I wouldn't say it's a technical term. It's probably more of a something I've picked up from musical theatre or various other places. But yeah, essentially just that if you listen, it's a chronology and it tells a story throughout the album. And so, yeah, if you listen in order, you should, without the need for monologues in between, understand the year of the story that I was telling.
Is that how you wrote the songs, thinking of them as a series? I mean, the famous example for we older folk is the fact that it was only after Tommy had been finished that that Pete Townsend realised he needed to add a single, and he wrote Pinball Wizard. Sort of, I mean, the last two pieces of music we heard were absolutely fantastic. But I mean, were they conceived in a stream, or were they conceived individually and fitted in?
It's that's a really good question, because I came onto this project so late. A lot of the lyrics, most of the lyrics had already been written and given to me. So then it was my job to set that text to music, and very often, and I'm lucky because Tom is brilliant at this, move things around to make sure that it's scanned and could work with what I wanted to write. I really tried, especially in the beginning, to start at Bite the Hand and go on through. But I actually realised that what I needed to do was start at Beasts of England, because obviously that is not in chronological order. So the first one I wrote was Beasts of England, and from there I did try and go through obviously the backwards storyline and the forward storyline writing. Where we've added new songs, that's not been as possible, but I think because I started doing that, I knew where to come and pick things from. So Words on a Postcard, the song that Mr. Jones sings, and Fly With You, the song that they sing together, they both take a lot from Beasts of England musically, and I wrote those very late. But we added in some other, I can't remember, but the finale was the Flicker of Light. That was the last thing that I wrote, and this was over the course of 4 weeks. So yeah, the beginning of the 4 weeks was Beasts of England, and the end of the 4 weeks was Flicker of Light. So on a whole, I did try and write Animal Farm in the chronological order, and I do think that helped.
Okay, thank you. I can see that Felicia is waiting to ask a question. I'd like to come back and ask Ellie something, but I'll give way for the time being. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Am I unmuted?
You are unmuted,
Yeah,
Felicia.
Thank you. And it's Felicia Nimua, a double name like Mary Jane. I was interested in the point that the characters in Animal Farm were sort of schematic, and I would like to suggest one exception, at least by my standpoint, which is Boxer. I really did feel I had a grasp of Boxer's earnestness, his, stupidity, his eagerness to follow Napoleon, his terror when he was taken away to the knackers and couldn't get out. I felt I was in there with him. So I do think he was different from some of the others that way. I'm curious if anyone else felt the same way. I'm also, interested in the fact that, of course, Orwell's other novels had much deeper characters, deeper even than I thought Boxer was. I mean, I think Winston and Julia are two of the most fully realized characters I've ever encountered, and I think another one would be Dorothy Hare. And I'm just curious about your thoughts about that. Thank you.
I think you're right. I think in Animal Farm, you're absolutely right. Boxer is the character that we get to spend most time with, and we feel we have more of a sense of what he's going through. I think I wanted to be able to. I think we wanted to be able to explore that further. We were also interested in how that fits with who he would be in our world now. Really, I think that idea of making something, changing something so it fits our modern world, and so that people coming to it new that maybe haven't read the novella would be able to feel what those characters feel, was a really important part in fleshing out their emotional journeys. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right about Boxer. We do hear more from him in the novella than we do many of the other characters. And I think you're right also about 1984, right? That's what those characters. That's from that book.
Yes,
yeah. I just want to make sure I was getting that right. I think they are absolutely much more fleshed out characters, and it's not that Orwell can't write that at all. It's just that he chose, I think very deliberately, didn't he, in Animal Farm, to make this feel fairy tale and feel too much dimensional, and so those characters don't have that depth of backstory and emotion and emotional connection, very deliberately, I think, so that it feels like a child's book. I think that is a really strong choice on that part, and also so that as someone with Douglas, I think I was saying earlier, so the satire is really clear in its just in the way that it comes across to the reader. I think in a novella that works really beautifully, and I'm going to say again that I think on stage what you need is more character connection. Does that sort of answer your questions, my lovely?
Oh yes, thank you.
Would anybody else like to ask a question before Les asks his follow-up? Over to you, Les.
Thank you again. Ellie, how does a musical version of Animal Farm today fit into a tradition of musical theatre? Are you somewhere between Lionel Bart's Oliver or Ewan MacColl's radio ballads? Or somewhere else?
I don't know. I'm somewhere between Hamilton
All right. Okay. Which I've only heard of.
Okay. And I don't know what else. Where else am I thinking about that? And I suppose for me, that kind of folky thing. There's a current a lovely show on called Benjamin Button, which
Oh
is
yeah. Yeah.
really folk inspired thing. So I was very much trying to, again, because I thought it was, I think Beasts of England and should feel like that's been our heartbeat forever. It should feel like for the animals that is rooted in the earth and the trees and, you know, the natural world and the natural order of things, but that where we are now is a much more is much further removed from that, so that while musically the tune, for want of a better phrase, and I don't mean that in the actual tune, but the tune of Beasts of England should still remain, it's been misshapen and lost along the way, which is why, you know, we end up somewhere like Hamilton, which of course Hamilton is mostly kind of a lot of rap in it, but rap of course is only a version of recitative really in the kind of modern day version of recitative. So you could be talking Gilbert and Sullivan, you know, I think all of those things feed into one another. But yeah, I was looking to try and connect up that idea of folk songs sung around a campfire and TikTok memes. You know, I was sort of trying to mash those two things together.
So have you got people doing a sort of Rex Harrison speaking while they're singing, or are all the songs actually really sung? I mean, the girl, I don't know what her name was, but her voice was fantastic. But presumably some of the others are going to be much more gruff.
I'm going to let Rebecca answer that.
Yeah, I've mostly tried to
Or maybe not. Gonna let Rebecca answer.
No, sorry, I'm back. I've mostly tried to write and match the timbre and the placement vocally to where I think each character would sing. So Old Major is it is absolutely bass, and you've got a lot of, and he is a little bit more gruff. The guy that sang him in the demo, not so much, but we just were working with what we had. And yeah, there's a lot of the Hamilton number, the windmill, is that sort of political rhetoric, because the reason it's rapped is because they're both standing up on their soapboxes trying to get everyone on side, and it's the rhetoric thing. So that is spoken. And I love a bit of speak singing in musical theatre. I think it's important, and it helps us as an audience not just go, oh, and now they're singing. I think.
Well, there was a fair amount that wasn't singing as well to keep the story going. It was very clear, and of course you have to remember we had young people. I mean, the eldest one was 19, but a lot of them were very young, and it was just so heartwarming watching them enjoy themselves deliver the performance.
Thank you.
If there are no more questions, please could you all unmute yourselves so that we can thank Ellie and Becca. Oh, John wants to ask a question. John? Well, before you ask your question, John, if you're still there, yes, you are.
Hello, sorry, I'm back.
If I could just do a trailer for next month. We started last year with Les hosting a symposium on books published during that year, well, the year preceding, so that was 2023. We'll make this an annual tradition that February we'll have a symposium like this. Les, would you like to tell everybody, rather than me read out my list of who you've invited?
Yes, we're quite lucky. Next month we have DJ Taylor talking about his latest book, Who is Big Brother. We have Carol Biederstadt, who knows Burma well, reviewing Paul Theroux's Burma Sahib, and we have Tyja Maria Smits talking about the volume of short stories on Evgeny Zamyatin's We. And she's since published some interesting material online about Orwell and psychology. And I will pick up a book on Joseph Conrad and reality reflected in his novels, and reflect on that as Orwell reflected on his life. So 4 speakers, 4 important books, and we will also list, as far as we're aware, all of the books that we know were published about Orwell or related to Orwell. That will be discussed on February the 16th, I think.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, I may have missed it because I've been cooking at the same time, but have you got any other performances to come of this production?
Yeah, so we're obviously, when we originally wrote it, it was commissioned by BYMT, so it was commissioned for a large cast of, you know, between 30 and 40 young people. But as musicals go, you generally don't get that many people in a musical these days. That producers are not prepared to pay that kind of money. So it looks like it may well happen in Florida, Florida University in April.
Right.
There's we're chatting with some people with one of the London drama schools about there being a possibility of it being a graduation show at one of the London drama schools. And so there's a little tentative talks in the pipeline with an American producer about it being happening in 2026 over in the States. Please
keep me up to date with any dates that you have, Ellie.
Yeah, I will, Quentin, definitely. I think
we have members all over the world, including the States,
great,
as well as the UK. So we like to let people know what's going on.
Lovely. And obviously, John, we are you know, we're keen as a 3 that it ends up, you know, on a West End stage or you know, somewhere nice like that. But we have a little bit of work to do, making some demos and raising some money to make those demos, and, you know, so that we can get it to commercial producers as well. And we're doing the joy of doing a little venture out, hopefully in Florida, is that we will be able to rewrite it again, because every time, you know, musical theatre shows tend to have been in the pipeline for about 7 years before they're a fresh new hit on the West End.
Yeah, you know, from what I've heard and the clips that you've played and things, it certainly deserves to be more widely seen. It's yeah, I don't think I'm going to be getting to Florida to see it, but
no, but we'll let Quentin know, and if it's on again in this over here, we'll definitely let Quentin know.
Thank you very much.
Les,
if I can just point out, putting music into and the history of Orwell and music, on the Orwell Society website in December, we had Peter Cordwell's cabaret show, One George Orwell. He's provided us with the music and the lyrics. That's all available online, thanks to Peter Cordwell. And we also have Martin Tyrrell's article about David Bowie's attempt to make a musical of 1984, which appeared on his Diamond Dogs album. You'll find those if you scroll down the articles on the website. They were all posted in December. So we're actually within sort of a month of talking a lot about Orwell and music. So this fits in massively. Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you both very much. It's been a very interesting evening, and it's certainly a good follow-up to us having the privilege of being invited to see it live. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thanks for having us, Quentin. It's been lovely to meet everyone, even in their kind of sort of black spaces.
Very good. Thank you very much.